All right, let's dive into a really powerful idea that's starting to reshape how we think about scientific progress. It's all about forging brand new pathways and building a global research community that's not just more effective, but way more equitable.
So let me ask you something. If you're a brilliant young researcher, say from Cameroon or Ethiopia, what does that road to success typically look like? For decades, there's been one very clear answer.
And that answer has pretty much always pointed in one direction: north. So let's take a closer look at this well-trodden path and why it might be time to start drawing a completely new map.
This is what's often called the northward trajectory. The whole idea, the assumption, is that landing a prestigious spot at a big, well-funded university in Europe or North America is the absolute pinnacle. You know, it's the only real way to get access to the best resources and make a name for yourself. But this model, it comes with a pretty significant cost. And that cost has a name you've probably heard before: brain drain. It's this huge risk that these incredibly talented scientists, after getting all this amazing training in the global north, might just not come back. And even if they do, the research they worked on was often designed for northern priorities, which means it might not really apply to the unique challenges their own countries are facing.
Okay, so if the old path can lead to brain drain, what's the alternative? Well, there's this transformative new model taking shape, a whole new axis of scientific exchange. And this one doesn't point north, it points south to south. This really flips the script. Instead of a one-way street that leads to brain drain, this south-south collaboration fosters what's called brain circulation. It's a totally different dynamic. Knowledge and talent aren't just lost to another part of the world, they're exchanged, they're shared, and, this is key, they're retained right there in the region.
And the advantages become so obvious when you put the two models side by side. With South-South exchanges, the research is just way more relevant, because partners are often dealing with very similar local challenges. Knowledge transfer isn't just a one-way lecture. It flows in both directions. And look, on a practical level, it's cheaper, and you don't have nearly as many visa headaches. The final outcome isn't just a boost for one person's career, it's the creation of these strong, lasting regional networks.
Now, this all sounds great on paper, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Well, there's this fantastic case study involving researchers from Ethiopia and Cameroon that shows us exactly how powerful this model can be.
So, this collaboration was part of something called the Under-Planet Project. It connected Hawassa University in Ethiopia with the University of Bua in Cameroon, and the goal was super straightforward: create a direct, peer-to-peer exchange to work on shared problems in agriculture. So when the Cameroonian researchers visited Ethiopia, they got right to work on something that mattered right there, right then. They helped study the drought resistance of enset, which is a critical food crop in that region. And while they were doing that, they identified a common enemy: the fall armyworm, a pest that was hitting maize crops hard in both of their countries. All of a sudden, they had a shared, urgent priority.
And this was absolutely a two-way street. When the Ethiopian researchers went to Cameroon, they had their own aha moment. They discovered that the university lab there was a regional hub for developing biofertilizers, which was exactly the kind of expertise Ethiopia had been looking for, but they'd been looking to the global north for it. Turns out, the solution was right next door, figuratively speaking.
And here's what's so cool. The outcome wasn't just a research paper or some data. It was the foundation for a real, lasting partnership between the institutions. They actually set up tuition-free student exchanges, creating a permanent bridge for future collaboration. Now that's how you build a resilient scientific community. There's a quote that just nails this whole idea. The value here isn't just about it being cheaper, it's about it being technologically appropriate. That means the equipment, the methods, they're often a much better fit for the local conditions, which makes the solutions they come up with immediately scalable and actually practical.
So this one story is like a proof of concept. It shows this powerful new path exists. But to make this the new normal, not just a one-off exception, it's going to take a fundamental shift in how we think about, how we fund, and how we value scientific teamwork.
The authors use a really heavy-hitting phrase for this. They call it a decolonization of academic aspiration. I mean, just think about that for a second. It's about tearing down this old colonial-era idea that all the best knowledge and resources can only flow from the north. It means researchers in the global south can start seeing each other as the primary source of world-class innovation. So how do we make it happen? Well, it takes everybody chipping in. First up, funders need to create specific programs just for South-South mobility. Next,
Universities can make these partnerships official with things like co-supervision and shared lab space. Third, scientific journals can play a huge role by demanding more transparency and equity in these collaborations. And finally, the researchers themselves can lead the charge by actively building these crucial regional networks.
You see, when you get all these gears turning together, you move beyond just one-off projects. You actually start cultivating an entirely new ecosystem for global science, one that's just flat out stronger, more diverse, and way more resilient.
And let's be absolutely clear about this. This is not a second-best option. This isn't a consolation prize. South-South Scientific Exchange is a foundational pillar. It's an absolutely essential part of a truly global science system that can actually solve our planet's biggest challenges effectively and equitably.
So the question that leaves us with is this: how can all of us, whether we're funders or institutions or just individuals, how can we invest in a future where the most powerful solutions aren't just imported, but are grown from within, deeply and authentically grounded in the local realities they're trying to change?